Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining. I'm your host, Chris Gennaro. My co-host is Rizk, and today we have Car Bomb. How you doing, guys?
Hey, Jon Modell. Is it the time now?
Yeah, it's the time now. Yes. So we know who Jon is, and let me know who you are, Michael.
Mike. Yeah, I'm vocals for Car Bomb.
Okay, and Jon is the bass player, if you didn't say it. So let's get right into talking about your last album. It's been out for about a year, Modell. And then we were talking a little bit before the interview that it's a self-released album. It's on Bandcamp, as is all your other stuff. But it sounds like you did have a little snafu with a record label who was helping you out in the UK.
Right. So it was being distroed through Holy Roar, which is it was a good little label out of the UK, and there was a little issue, some newsworthy stuff with the gentleman who owned it, some accusations. I don't know what happened, what didn't happen, but everybody kind of jumped ship. So we kind of just followed Justine Jones over to where she is now, which is Church Road Records, and she's just doing the same thing for us. She's just doing a distro deal for us.
Okay, so I guess she was maybe your connection there, and
right. I don't know if you know her. She's the Employed to Serve singer. I don't know if you know that band, Employed to Serve, but they're a great kind of hardcore metal band. They have some like Deftones-y stuff. She's great. Her husband, this guy Sammy, like they're just running things over there. They do a great job. So it seemed real natural for us to just kind of follow her wherever she went. She was the one that brought us into it, so it seemed logical.
So they're doing their own now pressings for are they doing all the albums or just the most recent one?
Again, it's just the distro deal. So it's whatever we send them, then they distro.
Oh, okay.
Out. Yeah.
So it's actually the same CDs that you would get in the States directly from you guys, but they're doing stuff with them.
So yes and no. There is that, but there are a couple of exclusives you can only get from them. And we did that as sort of part of the deal, so that they had exclusive content.
And that's obviously music we're talking about, as opposed to like gatefold art crap.
No, it's more that. Like they have a shirt design that you can only get from them, right? Okay. You can't get it from me. They have a different variant color of the Modell vinyl than we have here. So you can only get that from them also. They have an orange, I think, variant.
Okay, and you guys do some interesting merchandise. It's a shame that Greg's not here, because I got the sense that he's like the main designer dude.
He is. He's does an incredible job.
Okay, because it's funny, like where everybody else's logos looks like, you know, the tree at night and stuff like that. You guys have like kind of a real interesting aesthetic that seems almost like 70s modern. Like I don't know how to. I would ask him to describe it, but it's definitely unique, certainly in the metal community.
Yeah, and he takes great pride in the artwork that he does, for sure. And he does. I think all of us kind of agree that like his aesthetic for the band is really, really amazing. It really does kind of, I think, make us stand out a little bit more, maybe.
Yeah, not trying to be anything as far as fit in with like some pre-canned like metal thing that's like, oh, people will get that we're metal. It's like Car Bomb's never tried to make it easy for people to get whatever the hell we're trying to do. So the artwork just goes along with that. It's just a thing that he likes. I mean,
I think it's definitively Car Bomb. Yeah. Right. I mean, yeah.
So what do you guys? Obviously, the last album came out in 2019. What have you guys been working on lately?
Not a lot.
Okay.
I mean, yeah. Honestly, the pandemic kind of shut us down. We were actually in Europe at the time that we had to come running home. We were like trying to do a little quick run over there.
And where were you guys at when that happened?
So we had just left Germany and we were heading to Prague. And I think we had crossed the Czech border. They did like the temperature check. Mm-hmm. And then like it was kind of late. And at like maybe 3 a.m. or 4 a.m. Their time, I think Trump announced the travel ban.
Oh, wow.
So he neglected to say that Americans would still be allowed in. He just said that nobody's going to be allowed in. So we turned around and went back to Frankfurt and booked a flight and flew home on Friday the 13th of March. Yeah.
Wow.
So it's pretty nutty. And honestly, that was the last time that the four of us were in the same space together.
Wow.
And it's now 13 months later, and tonight's probably the most I will have seen Mike since then.
Wow.
Now, I know Greg said that, the writing process has sort of changed over the history of your band. I listened to a couple other interviews that you guys did that I thought were really interesting, and I'll link to what I can in the description. If you don't get enough car bomb from this interview, you can go check out some other stuff. But he said, the writing process had changed a little bit for you guys, and that, because of everybody's careers and things, it sort of was easier for him to do the lion's share for a lot of stuff, and then take it to the band, and then work everything out.
Sure. And we all came from like the let's just get in a room together and play noise and see what happens. Like that was sort of the, we've all been playing in bands since we were kids, and that just seemed like the logical way to do it. But with careers and everything, it did get harder and harder to just have that quantity of time. So I think it works pretty well now.
We were based out of the office primarily. We became remote friendly, and now we're like remote first. Remote
Exactly
first.
that.
Yes.
Cool.
Exactly that. Yeah. But from what I understand, Greg's been writing again. So, hopefully we're all vaccinated soon. And today's actually my 2 weeks since my second shot. So I guess officially, like I'm good to go. But as soon as everybody else catches up, hopefully we can get in the room, together again and start demoing some stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where are you with the shots, Mike?
I'm nowhere. I was just waiting for it to be easy. There was a number of people I knew that had ways to get like these things that were popping up or whatever. Now that it's like for everybody, I'm just gonna go when it seems like an easy. I'm not gonna wait on a line for 4 hours and whatever. So yeah, as long as I can just go get in and out of them. Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
One of the things I thought was interesting was that Greg is the main guitar player, but he defaults to you who don't play guitar in the band as the most trained musician with the guitar. He did say
Oh,
that.
yeah. I played I played classical guitar since I was in the 5th grade, and then before I went to school for physics, I went to school for music, and then realized, like, why am I learning shit that I knew? When I was like 18, I'm like, why am I learning classical songs and techniques that I've been doing since I was like 9 or 10, just to like do this? And what am I going to do with this music degree? Isn't this something I could do on my own? So I went to school for something else. But I guess that's what he means by training, is that I took some courses, but I also went to like guitar camps when I was like in high school and stuff for classical guitar. So yeah, I've been studying music for a long time, but I'm I play a lot more now, but I'm still like I wouldn't say anywhere near the caliber of guitarist that Greg is, not even close. I mean,
Okay.
It's nice of him to say, but it's at this point, there's like this, that he's
I mean, very, very different styles though also. Greg's got a very unique style of playing, and it's definitely different. Mike, I haven't even really seen you play guitar that much. I mean, some, obviously in the Neck days I saw some, but not so much the classical stuff. So I don't think Greg can do the classical stuff so much, but yeah, Greg's proficiency at the way that Greg plays guitar is kind of ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, there's some, just listening to your guys' albums, I mean, there's a lot of unorthodox, I guess is a good word to use, techniques. And, I think he was maybe purposely vague when asked, how some of the weird tuning stuff happens. And that's definitely something that I've been listening to a lot of music. I mean, I've been death metal for my entire life, of course, but doing this show, I listen to now even more metal than I have in the past 10 years. And I don't hear bands doing what you do with that type of stuff.
Thank you. I think.
No, it's a compliment. It's a compliment for sure. You know, I guess I would ask you point blank, like where some of that weird tuning stuff comes from. Is it in post production, or do you have like weird pedals and crap that you use to do that?
Yeah, I mean, Greg's a big Axe Effects guy, so I mean, some of it comes from that, but
even before Axe Effects, though, I think
yeah, even
it's just
yeah,
has a large love of electronic music and fucking with sounds and fucking with especially ring modulators and things like that, and experimenting with those things. I think over the years he's just developed a lot of crazy shit that he's kind of like engineered for live performances and recordings. But yeah, it's pretty crazy how he keeps coming up with stuff. Like, it's pretty amazing.
it's cool though, because if you listen to the early like neck stuff, like there is some stuff where you can hear him like really slack tuning stuff and drop tuning stuff, and he was definitely doing it pretty early on. Yeah, and he's definitely taken it to some pretty interesting places.
Cool. Yeah, now that you mentioned Neck, I guess, some people that are not familiar with Neck. Neck was a band from Long Island, right? And Mike and Greg were in Neck, correct?
That's correct, yeah. And that's how we met Johnny and Elliot initially, is that Johnny and Elliot were in a band called Spooge. We were in a band called Neck. We shared a rehearsal space in Rockville Center, Long Island. Not shared, but we were like across the hallway from each other. And I don't remember how we met. I'm sure I wasn't the most outgoing person to initiate that, but I just remember the first time I heard Johnny and Elliot playing in their band, and like my jaw dropped, because it was definitely the most professional, technical band I've ever heard live. Like, be that clean, just like walking in on them practice. I was really blown away, and like, what am I doing? Like, why am I here? It was like one of those moments where you're like, wow. So yeah, it's kind of like how we all wound up meeting. We were just like doing, what you do when you're teenagers and in your 20s.
Sure. And then I guess I saw that Car Bomb, would you say was in Bushwick for early 2000s, or is that wrong? I was looking at something. Were you located in Bushwick, Brooklyn?
Yeah, like we still are. I mean,
you are? Okay.
Yeah, we've been practicing at, I don't even know the name of that place. Like, it's not the sweatshop, but it's whatever. It's like right next to that big.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. I know what you're talking about. Yep.
Yeah, and we've been there for years. But yeah, I mean, we've been in Brooklyn pretty much for, like, I don't know, Johnny. What would you say? I mean,
10 years easily.
Yeah.
Yes, 10 years at least.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah, Sandy. When did Sandy happen?
2010, I think, or 11.
So we were in like John Lamacchia from Candaria had a studio like in Gowanus.
Oh yeah,
and it got flooded really badly, and maybe we were there for like a year or two. Yeah, so maybe since like the late 2000s we were in Brooklyn.
Damn. Yeah, I heard actually through somebody, that it flooded, and I remember someone saying like you lost a lot of the like live lighting or something.
Yeah.
Jesus, that's terrible.
Yeah. It was a scene, man.
Floyd was the bad one for us. We had a studio, and Floyd wiped us out. And I think that would have been 2000.
Okay.
But not floods and studios don't mix.
Nah, first floor flood studio, bad. The one we went to after that was that Killer King place, which is also in Gowanus, but the studios start on the second floor. So we were there for a couple of years, and then ended up back in Bushwick.
Okay.
But now Elon Musk is making waterproof music equipment, so that he could hit. He's a big metalhead.
That would be a good invention, I think. It would. But actually, it has to be a Gowanus canal proof. It has to be stand the test of all the deadly chemicals too.
Disgusting.
Yeah, very nasty. Another thing that's impressive, I noticed the lineup has been the same since the inception of the band. That's incredible, because you guys have been a band a long time. That's what do you attribute that to?
I mean,
please.
Yeah, I don't know, because we're all, I think, in awe of it. Whenever we take notice of that, we're like, shit, this is it's crazy. We're all in this band for so long. So I don't know. I mean, the only thing I could attribute it to is like a slight sense of maturity. Not that where any of us are really that mature, but just I think especially in our, when we were younger, I mean, we just were able to work through the things that bands have to work through. It's never easy, and it never gets easy to be in a four-way marriage and deal with all the emotions that goes into writing music. But yeah, I think we've just been able to, work it out. It's, nothing I think that we planned on. It's just how it's happened, at least in my accounting of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I play in bands where you can't replace members.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a blessing and a curse a little bit. Actually, though, Car Bomb had a slight iteration prior to this iteration. There was a different drummer and a different guitar player for like maybe the first year or so.
Okay.
And surprise, surprise, the guitar player was Mike Fortin. Do you know that guy?
I don't know.
So he makes amplifiers. He used to work for Marshall, and if you look up Fortin amps, like he makes like pedals. He's a Canadian guy who's doing amazing. Like he makes this Meshuggah amp. He worked some Randall stuff for the Metallica guys. Like he's a fucking force.
Okay.
And he was making amps for Marshall here on Long Island, and then moved back to Canada. When he moved back to Canada, I brought Greg in, and then from there, the drummer we were playing with left, and we brought Elliot in, and then Mike. So within like a 2-year period, like by 2002, I think everything kind of settled with the four of us.
Okay. And speaking of 2002, we did talk a little bit prior to the start of the interview that you went on tour with Soylent Green, which I thought was super cool.
Yeah. Those guys are awesome. Dude, Ben Falgo is like another force, man. That guy is still killing it. Yeah. Crazy time. A week in Japan with I Hate God, and like I said, a month or so it was supposed to be with Guar, but we got in that van accident right outside of Chicago, and kind of put the end to that tour for us.
When did anybody get hurt? I mean,
Ben broke both his legs. I broke my collarbone. It was brutal. Yeah, brutal.
Okay,
everyone survived. Everyone's good.
Yeah, I was gonna say y'all walked away, but I guess you didn't all walk away.
No, it was rough. He had like years of rehab and skin grafts and. Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that. That's
no. He's a tough motherfucker
though. And then other band connections beside the Soylent Green, there's definitely a Gojira connection that I wanted to sort of get into. It seemed like you guys toured with them for a while, but then I know there was some guest appearances, and Joseph, I think it was, produced one of your albums.
He did.
So let's talk about it.
I mean, Mike, you want this one?
Sure. I mean, there's some, John, you'll fill in all the other stuff that I don't get to, but yeah, we've known Joe for a long time. I think we met him. We were playing in Tempe, Arizona for Cavalier Conspiracy, some benefit. I forget the name, but Joe was playing with Cavalier Conspiracy. I think John would know this better because he actually is the one who I think met Joe and talked to him. But Joe saw us play. He was very awesome the way Joe has always been and continues to be. And I think John and Joe kind of struck up a friendship, and like 2009 during the Way of All Flesh tour, they allowed us to open the tour, with them and the Chariot, which was just an amazing opportunity and experience all around. And then, we played with them a bunch since then, 2012. And obviously 2017, we got to do the Magma tour with them in Europe. So, but Joe's been just an awesome human being to know. For I think everybody in the band feels that way. It's just not the rest of Gojira as well, but Joe being the reason that we know any of them, that's the connection. But John definitely is our connection to Joe and how we all kind of met as well.
No, I mean, listen, I made the connection, but I mean, Joe's been lovely to all of us, and we all have our own relationship with him. He's a great, great guy, and has done more for Car Bomb probably than any other person. ever has. So we're definitely grateful.
Awesome.
But yeah, he produced Meta, and he sang one track on WClickW, right? He did Third Revelation, and he did something, The Oppressor, maybe on
The Oppressor,
Meta?
Yeah.
So
and he did
he's been around.
Background vocal stuff here and there all throughout.
Sure. And you know, him and Elliot were doing the silver chord thing. Elliot had this room upstairs. Joe had the room downstairs, the live room, and they were kind of doing that thing, that silver chord studio thing. So there's a lot of different connections between Car Bomb and Joe on a personal level, on a professional level, and just amazing to see like the arc of Gojira from like Way of All Flesh tour, where they were just playing it like club dates, 500, 1,000 cap maybe rooms, to what they're doing now. It's just like incredible what's going on with Gojira.
Yeah, I'm sort of annoyed at myself because I was listening to them back then, but never got to see them in a small club setting, and now it's kind of too late, maybe, I
don't know. They played like St. Vitus a couple years ago. Yeah. So, on the right night, you might catch a gig like that.
Because they obviously they came from France, but they're living in the States now, right?
Right now, I think they're actually all still in France. I think they went back during the pandemic.
Okay.
But Joe was living in New York, and Mario was living in New York, and Christian and Jean-Michel, I think, were both in France the whole time. But yeah, I think they've been over there.
I guess let's talk about, we touched upon some of the record label stuff. I was kind of curious what happened with Relapse, if you guys don't mind talking about it, because it seemed like you if you started in 2000, 2002, it took a little bit to get that Relapse record, but that's a big deal. But then I guess it fell through, or something happened.
Yeah. Mike, you want this, or you want me to do this one?
Well, I mean, I'm probably going to say the same thing you are, John. It's just like we all have full-time jobs, and we take them pretty damn seriously. So the for some label like Relapse, the amount of touring and the follow-up release to Centralia that we would have need to have done to keep that relationship and that actual something that would be worth their time and ours, it just didn't work out. Like we weren't going to deliver what they needed, and at the same time, it's like, what are we getting out of the deal? I think, but John would know more about that part of things.
No, I think you're right. You really have to work it. You got to want to you're going to get out as much as you put in. And if we're working full time, and if we're not able to write another record, I mean, listen, it was like 5 years to write Centralia, then it was another 5 years to do WClickW, and then another 4 years to do Meta, and actually only 3 years in between Meta and Mordial. So we're getting a little bit better at our time frame in between records. But it takes us a while to write this stuff. We do all work full time. We're grown ass men, so we couldn't give to Relapse what they wanted or what they needed. So it made sense that the relationship ended how it ended. I don't think there was any hard feelings or anything like that. I mean, those guys were great.
It sounds like it sounds like it ended on good terms.
Yeah, for sure. There were a bunch of great people over there. I still have friends that are either working there or have moved on to other labels or other adventures, and keep in touch with. No hard feelings. Again, we didn't give even a fraction of what we would have had to have given in order to have a thriving career on Relapse. We just couldn't.
No, and I think it's awesome though that you were able to stay together, because I mean I've said it a couple times over the past 30 interviews that metal doesn't pay the bills unless you're like fucking Metallica or something, and it's I think when some people sort of lose the dream, they sort of give up on the music, and a lot of times it's a shame. So it's really cool that you guys decided to keep going and do this stuff, in your spare time.
Yeah, and listen, I don't know any musician who doesn't hit that wall of, why am I doing this? Like, I'm not making any money. Touring can be grueling. I want to kill everybody in the band. Like, you know, you go through these cycles, and hopefully you come through them, and hopefully you're not all going through them at the same time. I will say this about Relapse. One of the best things they did was get us on that show in Tempe, Arizona, which led us to Joe, which opened up a lot of doors for us. So, I mean, even though we didn't get a lot out of Relapse or give a lot to Relapse, we did get that, which ultimately really, really helped us. So I'm grateful. I'm grateful for the experience and for their faith in us to at least put one record out and give us a shot.
Yeah, because you've done actually kind of a fair amount of touring for people, that have full-time jobs. I saw like the archives of all the tour. Yeah, you've done a lot of touring.
Same thing though. You'll see, like in the beginning, not so much. A lot of local stuff. Yeah. 2012, like 2009, that Gojira tour, okay. But then we really didn't tour again until 2012. So we had a couple of years in between. But then, you know, like we are so like lucky in a lot of ways, right? Meshuggah comes calling in 2014. How do you say no? Yeah. Gojira comes calling again in 2017. How do you say no? Animals as Leaders comes calling, you know, a couple of times. There's just no way to say no to these things. There's such good opportunities that you can't not do it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we all recognize them. So, I mean, again, we feel very, very fortunate.
Yeah, and I think Greg's been on record as saying that he really likes Meshuggah. So I would assume that right? I mean,
I think that's understating it.
Yeah. Okay. So there we go.
Yeah, we're all huge fans, man. And those guys, too, they're like the sickest. Yeah. Awesome people, like unbelievable live show, like just surreal to have done that. But Greg and I used to, like, we had this like little like on the Car Bomb website, we had this little administrative control panel thing where we could like add shows and, you know, add merch items or whatever. And the password was tour with Meshuggah. And it was a joke. It was a fucking joke. You know what I mean? And then 2014 rolls around. Holy cow. Joke's on us.
It was like you like put it out into the universe, and
I guess, yeah,
it came true. Look at
Is that how it works?
I think that's how it works.
It's the secret mixed with what the bleep do we know mixed with quantum mechanics. You know, it's how the world works. You need your vision board,
time signatures, metronomes, like all these different elements coming together.
Yeah. It's always interesting to hear people talk about their influences, and you know, especially like for you guys, where I've heard your stuff, and then I heard Greg talk about his influences, and then I went back and listened to some of the stuff, and I'm like, oh, like I would have never listened to some of your earlier stuff and said, oh, that's a Mr. Bungle thing, and then later on I was like, oh, you know, that might be what that kind of part is there, you know. So do you have any other influences that you you know, I know he's talked about and again, I don't want to, I feel bad about ripping other people's interviews off, and I'll give them credit and post them in the description along with all the other shit that we talk about, other bands and stuff. But you know, he's talked a lot about Apex Twins and you know, some of Mike Patton's other bands. So I guess maybe let's talk about your influences other than that.
Go on, Mikey.
I mean, for me, it's, you know, I love a lot of, I mean, for me, Deftones vocally has always been like my pinnacle of, I don't know, just certain songs in Deftones really are fucking awesome to me still. But yeah, I don't know. I love, like I used to love bands like, and really heavily influenced by like bands like Vision of Disorder or Norma Jean when Josh was in it, when it became the Chariot, like that type of stuff. But I mean, that's so many influences for me, like from a vocal musical perspective. I'll just blab on and on. I think Jon and Elliot to me are the most interesting as far as their influences and what they brought to Car Bomb technically and jazz wise and all this stuff. But Jon.
Yeah, I mean, Elliot was a big, it's no secret, Elliot's a big jazz guy. But he also has the electronic thing, and he's got the metal thing. So he really, you know, kind of crosses into a lot of different areas. And his playing style definitely reflects that. And Zappa, like Elliot and I were big Zappa freaks. And our last, that band Spooge that we were in, we like would rip a lot of like Zappa stuff. You know, you got to make it your own, but like we were listening to just a ton of it. And Elliot's a huge Vinnie Colaiuta fan. Like that drummer to him is sort of like maybe what, you know, Chino at his height for Mike is, right? That's what Vinnie is for Elliot. And also just like ripping licks and turning them into songs. You know, you would just find some little, tiny little thing that Vinnie does in a Zappa song and just extrapolate that and turn it into a Spooge song. I mean, that definitely happened. So, yeah, I mean, you know, we all kind of had this common metal thing. We all listened to Slayer and Metallica growing up, and then, you know, Elliot and I did the death metal thing, and then the Mr. Bungle Primus, with always like Soundgarden and Alice in Chains and like that kind of Deftones kind of going the whole time also. And then, yeah, electronic music and more metal. Yes. I don't know.
But yeah, and some electronic music, you know, and it's always funny when the genre police come in and are this is the metal, this is not metal, and I'm like, some of the electronic bands are really you would never call them metal, but it's heavily metal influenced.
Yeah, it's heavy as shit, dude. Definitely.
Yeah, it's
some of the
heavy
Apex
shit.
Twin shit is heavy as fuck.
Same with hip hop, like, and same with hip hop as well.
Oh yeah.
Like, I've always been into hip hop and metal together growing up, and it's just because it's the same. Like a lot of hip hop and metal have the same exact vibe. And I mean, Death Grips might be the best fusion of those things to me, but yeah, I mean that always made sense. Like the anger, the energy, the, you know, whatever the emotion, but it's intensity, you know, in general.
I feel like because some bands have done it poorly, then it gets like a bad rap, you know. Oh God, that was not.
That was pretty good.
That was good, man.
Yeah.
100, you get 100% on that one.
No.
Yeah,
Gold star.
Yeah, gold star. Listen, there's good and bad in every genre of music, right? Good and bad. You got to weed through the, you know, whatever in order to get to the whatever.
Yeah.
Going off of what you said before, John, when you're talking about, we rip off like, you know, you rip off a Zappa thing or whatever. What I always found was interesting or most original is when you try to rip off somebody you're heavily influenced by, but you're not good enough to. So you kind of suck at it, but then it's like your own thing now because you can't pull off the thing you're trying to do. You know, like you try to sound like Metallica, but your voice is nowhere near James Hetfield, so you sound like, you know, Metallica-ish with something else going on. And then everybody's like, that's interesting. You know, I wonder how they got that sound. It's like, they just wanted to be a Metallica band, you know.
But sometimes that works, though. Sometimes that works really well.
Yeah.
You know, and it's cool that, like, you can say to yourself, okay, I'm never going to be what that is, but I got this thing, even though I'm heavily influenced by that.
Right.
It's funny. I remember in art school, there were a bunch of kids who were very weirded out because they didn't have their own style. And, you know, it always had to be explained to them that style isn't something you do. It just happens, you know, and I think music is kind of the same way, you know, and to like your point, maybe your style is sometimes just because you're not good enough or that's just the way the idiosyncrasies come out, you know, and you just kind of got to let it go, you know?
I think if I sounded like Chino or Mike Patton and the band sounded like Mr. Bungle, Zappa, Meshuggah, like exactly, I think it would have been really cheesy and hard to listen to. So it definitely, like you said, it worked out. Nobody knows how these things happen, but yeah, it's it could have been, but I'm just saying it could have been real bad. Really embarrassing.
I mean, some of those early demos. No, I'm just kidding.
How did the album that I was always referred to it as Dub Dub Dub, but you referred to it as Dub W Click W. How did I saw some theories that the clicks were actually snare hits or something, but I'll defer to the source for you to let me know how that name came about. And does it throw people?
I mean, everybody calls it the waveform record. So,
Okay.
I mean, because nobody knew what the hell to call it, which is kind of fun. And for years and years, we didn't say what it was. So it was cool. We just let the theories like kind of fly around, and people would ask us, and we would just be like, we just call it W Click W. We didn't really say much about it. But somebody figured it out. maybe like a year or two ago, and posted it online. And it's basically it's the rhythmic pattern to the first song on the record. And that pattern, the Sentinel, the song "The Sentinel."
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Yeah.
Right. So it's duh, 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 which is W, click W, click W, click W. But every riff, except for the last riff in that song, is the only one that breaks from that pattern. So if you look at that pattern and listen to that song, you'll see. And that's a very, very Greg thing, right? Because he probably wrote that. The W, click W, click W, click W, and then wrote an entire song around that idea. Because he's very visual. He's a very visual person.
So did the guy who broke the code, did he get like any, did he get props on the?
So yeah, I think Elliot gave him props and said, great job. And then Greg proceeded to bash Elliot and say, what the fuck did you give it away? We've been holding this secret for years. But that's how it goes around here.
You did a split with Burnt by the Sun. How did that come about?
I mean, it's a relapse thing. And Dave Whitty, like, I've known that guy since I was like maybe 14 years old. And so, I mean, I'm pretty sure they just asked and we were like, of course. Yeah. By the way, I have like maybe 5 or 6 copies of that thing. Like nobody has them. But I got like,
oh, look at that.
Oh,
yeah.
handful of them. Yeah.
There we go.
I also have this guy, which is like super rare.
Whoa.
You got to NFT these things, man. That's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Really good.
Yeah, I'm from Jersey, so I've run into Dave at obviously he doesn't live anywhere near here anymore, but back in the day in the late '80s and stuff, I ran.
So how old are you?
God, I'm 48 now.
Okay, so were you like a Ripping Corpse fan?
We've played with Ripping Corpse a bunch. Okay. Yeah.
What band? So what band were you in?
Grown, and before that we were called Suiciety, which I hated, but it was a Jersey thing. But I know all the Jersey bands and Demonacy and Social Plague and I
remember Demonacy. I don't remember Social Plague. I was a huge Ripping Corpse fan.
Okay.
I mean, huge Ripping Corpse fan. And from there, it got me to Human Remains. And
okay.
And those two bands like kind of defined my world. We used to joke saying that there was something in the water in Jersey to make these bands like so ridiculous, but they are. I mean, those two bands were just some of the most ridiculous bands. And Ripping Corpse used to like open for so many national acts that they were just constantly playing. Yeah,
they deserved it, so I'm not going to say, but it was so helpful because like anytime somebody came to Club Benet or I think they've played L'Amour's a couple times, you would see them. So it was tremendous, that sort of built their whole thing.
It was a good thing.
Brighton Bar, I think, was the place.
Dude, so Spooge used to play Brighton all the time. That guy Jacko, right? We used to play with so it was Dim Mak after Ripping Corpse.
Right. Yeah.
And Human Remains was still active for a while, so we would play with them. But even some other Dave's projects, like Major Burns. I mean, Dave's been in like 500 projects, so pretty much everything he's done, I've been a fan of. But yeah.
Yeah, I guarantee you we've been at this 100 of the same shows.
I'm sure that sounds all right. I'm a little younger than you, but like 5 days, 6 days, like
just by
somewhere around there.
You got the.
It's multicolored.
Yeah, I think what the guy from Stabbed was saying, like, oh, if you're gonna cred check me, and I was like, well, if you want to cred check me, this is all you don't. You don't need to see any more than the gray in my beard, because that's about it. That's where I've been. Let's see. So I'm just looking at my notes. The guy from Suffocation did some guest vocals on your thing. That was pretty cool. You got
the Long Island connection. The Long Island.
For sure, yeah. I mean, I was at Suffocation's first show ever.
Wow. Ever?
I've been friends with those guys, since the 80s. And Frank's always been a sweetheart. So I mean, it took all of one phone call, I think, one text message for him to be
Okay.
like, yeah, for sure, yeah. And he did a killer job. That's like everyone's favorite song on Meta is Sets. Everyone always wants us to play Sets live.
Yeah,
and I mean,
yeah.
it's a very, very
I don't want
tough
to do
song
that
play.
part because I don't
tough.
think I could pull off.
Yeah,
because who
It's
wants
so-
to hear anybody else do his voice? Like I can't do it.
It's tough.
You know,
Those are
it's
big
you
shoes.
just got to throw the mic out there.
That's the move, I think.
Yeah.
Well, can't you? You know, obviously, you'd always be playing with somebody. Can't you just go into like and just I don't know, whoever, just ask the dude from Gojira, like, don't try to be Suffocation, but you know, let's change it up.
Yeah. That would be
Again,
awesome.
big shoes. Big shoes.
You don't tell them who it's, you know, whatever.
Oof.
You trick them into doing it. That's how you do it. So I mean, you said that you think Greg's doing some other stuff. But like, do you have any master plan? I mean, I'm thinking shows are coming back in October. That's what I keep hearing. That's the word on the street.
I mean, again, you know, we and a lot of bands. I mean, it's not just us, but you know, Modell came out at the end of 2019, and we just started to get into the tour cycle, and kind of got a little screwed on that one. So, I don't think. I think our next move would probably be just to do another record, and just chalk it up to the plague killing this one.
Sure.
But honestly, like, again, I just want everyone to get vaccinated, and I want to get in the room and start playing again. And let's see what opportunities come up. I mean, I'm totally down to tour. We all miss it. You know, we all miss it a lot. I really miss being in the room with these guys, though. Also, I just want to play. So if we can do another record, if we can get on the road, like, I'm down to do all that. I think everybody else is also. But there's no like real plan still, because everything's still sort of up in the air. You know, I saw that like Euroblast announced. I saw some other tour today announced. What was it? It was like, was it Rob Zombie? No, there was like a big festival. I can't remember what it was though. But I saw another big festival like announced, and I think it was here in the States. So I mean, it's hard to say like what's going to be what.
Yeah.
I can't believe that, you know, people are announcing tours and shows, but at the same time, it's kind of encouraging. I don't know, you know, the news is very depressing.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. And I just don't know what to believe, ever.
True.
So if we could be in the same room together playing, at least we're making progress ourselves.
Yeah, good.
And hopefully things open up soon.
Yeah, definitely.
I guess before we close it out, do you have anything you want to plug that you haven't plugged, or any like just fucking to die for tour story that will just make me roll around on the ground laughing?
Go on, Mike. That sounds like it's got you written all over it.
The only thing I came to mind, and I'm sure there's way better tour stories, was just like in the last tour where we had to come home because of the pandemic, was you know, I was breaking out in zits on my face, and I was walking in Leipzig with like a zit that was bleeding, and Elliot comes up to me and he goes, "Oh, what is that? Your virus portal?" And I was like, "That's excellent," and that's always stuck with me because, you know, whenever I have a zit, especially during the pandemic, I'll be like, "There's my virus portal." Like I need to be fully, you know, encased in saran wrap to feel comfortable now. But yeah, no, that's not a good tour story. It's just a story.
It's a story. That's good. It's a good story though.
I'm sure there's a lot. It would just take me a while to think of a good one, but that's all I got right now. I'm sure Johnny has something better.
I mean, you know, a lot of it's already been said and it's out there, so I don't know. I did like being stopped at the border of the Czech Republic. You know, I put that picture up on my Insta. I'm not like a huge social media guy, but you know, these guys in, you know, full outbreak suits taking our temperature.
Oh wow! With outbreaks,
that would have freaked me the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like that's like some Hollywood shit. That
It definitely sends it home, right? Like you're definitely like
nobody knew, but yeah, that was definitely odd. Definitely odd.
People are taking this really seriously.
I will promote one thing if that's cool. I know Greg did like Greg did an electronic record that he released like in January, I think. It's called Zytechra, Zytechra, and I'm pretty sure it's up on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
It's very Greg. So I mean, if you like our style of music, but think, sort of transformed into an electronic kind of way. Check it out. Like I said, it's on Bandcamp.
Okay. And yeah, you don't even have to look. I'll put the links in the description and people can just click away. So
Awesome.
I wasn't able to check that out because I didn't know about it, and now I do. So I'll take a look. I'll listen to that tomorrow.
Sick.
And I guess that's it. I guess we're at time. Yes. Eric,
thank you so much for
Yeah, no, thank you for coming on. It was, sometimes I have to pull teeth with bands, and then other times it just comes together easy. And I'm
sometimes I won't shut the fuck up either. So I really try to.
No, know what, I always appreciate that.
Okay.
And if I can have an interview that flows as smoothly as this every time, I'll do this forever. So I'm totally happy about that.
Well, we appreciate the support, man, and reaching out and just helping us get the word out there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And we'll continue to do that. And that's it. Thank you for coming on. And I appreciate everybody who made it this far in the interview. And thanks a lot, guys.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.